Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really great and ready for another video. As you may know, many of my video topics always stem from something that's been on my mind in terms of a certain situation that hasn't been addressed, and today's video is certainly no different. I was actually working on another video when the question came into my head: did the Death Eaters know that Voldemort was half-blood? And if they did, was it a case that they'd dare not question the Dark Lord? Then it also crossed my mind how many, if any, knew of his past as Tom Riddle, which in turn made me ask another question: why did Tom Riddle actually become Lord Voldemort in the first place? What was wrong with Tom Riddle? I'll be answering all of those questions today, so if this is the topic for you, then stick around, get comfy and enjoy today's video from Harry Potter Folklore. Okay guys, let's get this video started. Did the Death Eaters know that Lord Voldemort was half-blood? Did they care? Did Voldemort hide his blood status? Better yet, did he alter it? He wouldn't be the first to lie about blood purity, don't forget. Dolores Umbridge did it for years. But why did Tom Riddle choose to become Lord Voldemort? Is his decision linked to blood purity? Anyway, in order to answer these questions, we've got to really take a look into Voldemort's situation, and we've also got to look at the kind of wizards and witches that followed him. There's one person in particular who I feel kind of gives it away that the Dark Lord may as well be lying about his blood status, but the real question is, why? Why lie? Well, let's look at Tom Riddle as a person and his background, because we can really get our first clues from there, and then we can move forward to address the blood purity situation with Death Eaters. Now Tom, as we know, was an orphan. He was basically abandoned and he had nobody. Now I won't get into that because that's something we already know. What's important is his feelings towards his parents and his heritage. That's what really changed him. Tom despised his mother. He struggled to come to terms with the fact she was magical because he considered her weak. She gave into mortality, death, which is the one thing he hated more than anything, something he would actively seek to conquer. He was left in an orphanage alone, so he built up a lot of resentment against the world. He was convinced that the magical parent was at first his father. And a young Tom searched the Hogwarts trophy room, student room records, and examined every avenue that could lead him to information on his father, but found nothing, forcing him to accept that he was a half-blood on his mother's side, something that did not sit well with him at all. Tom originally believed he was pureblood, giving the history of his family, the Gaunts, being so rich in magical stature, so it must have been a huge shock to discover that his bloodline was not what he expected. Those who were in his year would not have questioned his blood status either, and knowing Tom, he'd have lied anyway most likely. Tom Riddle and Lord Voldemort shared an important trait. They were both bullies, as a student and as the Dark Lord. Bullies always target the thing they hate most about themselves, and try to project that hatred onto society. Voldemort hated his blood status, so he wanted to create a pure blood society. He hated a lot about himself. He hated the person Tom Riddle was, which is the reason he created the Voldemort persona in the first place. He wanted to shed everything there was to know about the name Tom, and especially his filthy muggled surname of Riddle. He wanted to erase everything that Tom Riddle was, and he did. It's something I've always asked myself. I get the Voldemort character, but I never really understood why he wanted to completely rid himself of the person he was. Tom Riddle did a lot of incredible things. Tom created the first Horcrux, and was thought of as brilliant by all of those who encountered him, except Dumbledore, who of course knew what Tom really was. Then it came to me. He wanted to be the example that everyone should look to be. He wanted to be feared, respected. Lord Voldemort had no past. Lord Voldemort had no mother who was weak and father who abandoned him. Lord Voldemort never lived in an orphanage. That was all Tom Riddle. Voldemort was everything that Tom Riddle chose to be after filtering out his own weaknesses. It's quite ironic that he would then target those who had been in a similar position to him when he was younger, most likely to eradicate such situations ever happening again. So Lord Voldemort was not just a name, it was an escape, a shedding of an embarrassing cloak of a dirty heritage that honestly disgusted him. I mean, the man killed his own father without any hesitation. He also killed his grandparents too. The fact that they were muggles fueled his motive even further. It's as if he justified every single reason to erase everything that Tom Riddle was. If I'm being honest, I don't think that many knew about his past, nor did he want them to know. Which leaves to second question, did the Death Eaters and followers know he was Half-Blood? Well, here's the thing, the clever ones did. The Sacred 28 was readily available, and I can assure you, Riddle was definitely not on that list, meaning those who put the actual effort in of doing a little research would have discovered that he wasn't pureblood, but the small issue with that is, only some knew who Tom Riddle was. Only a few knew about this boy. The rest had never known. Don't forget that by the time of the First Wizarding War, Voldemort would have been in his late 50s, so all of these young, energetic Death Eaters and followers would have had no idea that he and Tom Riddle were actually the same person. The Dark Lord was also extremely powerful. Nobody had even come close to achieving the things he'd achieved, so they would have never questioned his blood status, especially due to the prejudice towards Muggleborns and even Half-Bloods in terms of magical power. Surely only a pure-blooded wizard could be this powerful, not that of any lesser stock. It's why he accused Muggleborns of stealing magic, even though he knew that wasn't possible. He was too magically advanced. He had taken magic to another level, and trust me guys, he was well aware that someone cannot simply steal magic. This was Tom Riddle within Voldemort making his own rules, having society how he wanted. That's what separates the two. Tom Riddle in his own mind was a victim of circumstance, a victim of the world he was born into, the cards he was dealt, whereas Voldemort created his own world. So guys, with that being said, that is my video on why Tom Riddle became Lord Voldemort and if the Death Eaters really knew he was Half-Blood. I hope you can all agree with my points as to why he erased everything about his past. And as you can see, even if the Death Eaters slightly suspected anything, they wouldn't dare challenge him. So my question for you today is this: do you believe Tom Riddle and Voldemort are two different people? Let me know if you do and why down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. Everyone, notifications of uploads are more important than ever. So please, if you haven't already, turn those notifications on to make sure you're notified the moment my video goes live. Making videos is what I love to do, it's my dream and my passion. However, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDNJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.